Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 2 of September 2024. The Burman family of Dabur and promoters of Jubilant Group, the Bhartiyas, are separately closing in on a 40% stake in Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages or HCCB for Rs 10,800 to Rs 12,000 crore. This values Coca-Cola, India's wholly owned bottling subsidiary, at Rs 27,000 crore to Rs 30,000 crore. Coca-Cola had sounded out a group of Indian business houses and family offices of billionaire promoters to buy into HCCB, an arm it eventually wants to take public to cash in on the bullish domestic capital markets. ICICI Bank plans to acquire its securities affiliate is promoting criticism from some shareholders unhappy with the buyout terms. Questions arise over the Securities and Exchange Board of India's approval process as it waived rules meant to protect minority investors. The merger is currently contested via class action and higher court lawsuits. The Reserve Bank of India is scrutinizing large write-offs of overseas investments by several companies, suspecting these might not be genuine business decisions. Concerns arise as some firms may have used the overseas direct investment route to transfer funds abroad, bypassing regulations. The RBI is ensuring compliance with mandatory audit reports and valuation confirmations to validate the legitimacy of these investments. New overseas investment rules from August 2022 allow automatic write-offs, but recent cases under review are from prior to 2022. The RBI's vigilance aims to uncover potentially fraudulent fund movements. The new micro, small and medium enterprise or MSME credit assessment model based on digital footprints for public sector banks is expected to be launched by the end of March next year. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in the Union Budget for Financial Year 25, proposed that public sector banks develop in-house capabilities to assess MSME for credit, moving away from external assessments. In pursuance of Section 245MA in the Income Tax Act 1961, the Central Board of Direct Taxes notified the E-Dispute Resolution Scheme 2022 or EDRS with the aim to reduce litigation and provide relief to eligible taxpayers. Section 245MA of the Act also provides for the constitution of dispute resolution committees. IFSCA has notified the IFSCA Listing Regulations 2024. These regulations provide the regulatory framework for the listing of specified securities, debt securities, depository receipts, and other permitted financial products on the recognized stock exchanges in the IFSCs in India. They shall apply to an initial public offer of specified securities by an unlisted entity, the issuance and listing of debt securities by an entity, the secondary listing of securities by an entity, the issuance and listing of depository receipts by an entity, listing of commercial paper or certificate of deposits or other financial products as permitted by the authority. India's banks are facing a deposit shortage, causing concern among bankers and policymakers. Measures like restraining money growth to combat inflation, aggressive taxation on savings, and insufficient interest rates for savers are the contributors. The Reserve Bank of India warns about potential liquidity issues, increasing the need for banks to mobilize household savings effectively. Hero MotoCorp is in advanced talks to invest up to Rs 900 crore in Bengaluru-based Altigreen Propulsion Labs, a maker of electric three-wheeler vehicles. This strategic move will allow Hero to enter a growing market segment, competing with Mahindra & Mahindra and Bajaj Auto. Due diligence has been completed and a deal announcement is anticipated soon. Earlier, SEBI White Master Circular dated October 16, 2023 had laid down the eligibility criteria for entry-exit of stocks in the derivative segment. SEBI has now revised the eligibility criteria. As per the revised norms, SEBI has raised the stock's median quarter sigma order size over the previous 6 months on a rolling basis from Rs 25 lakhs to Rs 75 lakhs. Further, SEBI has raised a stock market-wide position limit over the period of the previous 6 months on a rolling basis to Rs 1,500 crores from the existing limit of Rs 500 crores. The stock's average daily delivery value in the cash market over the previous 6 months on a rolling basis must not be less than Rs 35 crores. The existing limit is Rs 10 crores. Moreover, upon expiry, unlike index derivatives that are cash settled, single stock derivatives are physically settled. Kaynes Semicon, a wholly owned subsidiary of electronics manufacturing services Kaynes Technology, on Monday received the Union Cabinet's nod for its Rs 3,300 crore outsourced semiconductor assembly and test unit in Sanand, Gujarat. With this, Kaynes chip unit becomes the 5th such project in the country to have received the government's approval for a semiconductor assembly and test unit under the Rs 76,000 semiconductor incentive scheme. The centre plans to allocate more than Rs 6,000 crore additionally to Bharat Sanchar Nigam for 4G network gear of the state telco's much delayed rollout, the absence of which has been increasing its subscriber losses. The Department of Telecommunications plans this capital infusion to meet the shortfall in capex for 4G gear, rollout of which is being done through the locally developed stack. Department of Telecommunications will soon approach the Cabinet for its approval. Listed companies are increasingly using Qualified Institutional Placements or QIPs to raise capital. In the first 8 months of 2024, 55 companies raised Rs 58,400 crore through QIPs. Companies like Vedanta and Adani Energy Solutions have utilized this route for debt repayment and expansion plans. Favorable market conditions have made QIPs a preferred fundraising method. To enable GST taxpayers to efficiently address invoice corrections or amendments with their suppliers through the GST portal, a new communication process called the Invoice Management System or IMS is being brought up at the GST portal. This will also facilitate taxpayers in matching of the records or invoices vis-a-vis issued by their suppliers for availing the correct input tax credit and shall allow the recipient taxpayers to either accept or reject an invoice or to keep it pending in the system, which can be availed later. This facility shall be available to the taxpayer from 1st October onwards on the GST portal. India's asset and wealth management space recently crossed $730 billion of asset under management, which is more than 80% annual increase over 5 years given increasing retail participation and seen new entrants, Indian and global. Given current trends and market shifts in the coming decade, we are likely to see more activism by fund managers. Globally, asset management companies and wealth management companies have been vocal voters, often questioning company decisions on governance, board composition, valuation, M&A, and capital allocation. With Indian domestic financial institutions growing stronger, we may see more active shareholder votes, minority protests, and even business or governance proposals tabled by the asset management company or the wealth management company for their portfolio companies. Reliance is preparing for a big capital infusion of up to Rs 3,900 crore into FMCG arm through a mix of equity and debt to compete with Hindustan Unilever, ITC, Coca-Cola, Adani Wilmar and others for a bigger scale of the Indian fast-moving consumer goods market. This will be Reliance's highest capital infusion into the FMCG entity since its inception in November 2022. Nearly 67% of the deposits mobilized by banks by the end of June 2024 were contracted at interest rates of 7% and above, compared with 45% of deposits a year ago, latest central bank data showed, pointing to the higher returns lenders are now having to offer to garner deposits from savers to meet increasing credit demand. The last 12 months saw a 30 to 40% surge in demand for specialist M&A lawyers from large Indian companies. Large Indian companies are bolstering their in-house legal teams with M&A specialist lawyers thanks to a flurry of local and cross-border deals as well as internal ownership restructuring. Many business houses are tapping lawyers with 10 to 15 years of expertise in complex deal making to strengthen their legal teams. This is even as they continue to seek legal counsel from leading law firms. India's quasi-sovereign fund plans to seek about $4 billion in its largest ever fundraise. The National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, backed by the Indian government and several global investors, is looking to raise money early next year. The new fund would be much larger than the predecessor master fund that closed in December 2020 with $2.34 billion and would mark a restart of activities under a new chief executive officer. National Investment and Infrastructure Fund is also raising capital for its private markets fund and will consider a new private equity fund after the infrastructure fundraise. Britannia Industries is in talks to acquire a controlling stake in Kishle Foods, a Guwahati-based snack manufacturer valued at Rs 600 to Rs 700 crores. This acquisition would help Britannia expand its market presence in the Northeast and enter new categories like noodles and tea. The deal is currently in due diligence stages. The Maharashtra cabinet has approved a $10 billion investment by a Tava Semiconductor Adani Group joint venture to establish a semiconductor chip manufacturing unit in Taloja, Panvel. The project will have an initial capacity of 40,000 wafer starts per month, expanding to 80,000 wafer starts per month in the second phase. Sanlam Limited is joining the race to enter India's growing asset and wealth management industry as Africa's biggest insurer by market value seeks to tap opportunities in the world's fastest growing major economy. The insurer plans to build out its partnership with Shriram Capital Group in the South Asian nation by adding an equal joint venture covering the wealth and advice services, doubling down on an initial 2005 investment that has already delivered results in the credit and insurance spaces. The GSTN has issued an advisory to inform that it is on process of developing functionality to report invoice-wise details of interstate outward tax supplies made to unregistered dealers above Rs 1 lakh and will be made available shortly. Till the time, new functionality is made available on portal for reporting of invoice-wise details of interstate supplies made to unregistered dealers above 1 lakh, the taxpayers may continue reporting the invoice-wise details which are more than Rs 2.5 lakhs in the Table 5 of Form GSTR 1 and Table 6 of GSTR 5. Online travel tech platform EasyMyTrip.com on Thursday announced that it has ventured into the electric bus manufacturing market with the launch of its new subsidiary Easy Green Mobility. In a regulatory filing, the company said that Easy Green Mobility will manufacture EV buses. For this, the company is investing rupees 200 crore for R&D, product development and setting up manufacturing plants over the span of 2 to 3 years. Ease My Trip, through its subsidiary Easy Green Mobility, will be operating via YOLO bus. E-commerce giant Flipkart on Wednesday announced that it will create over 100,000 new jobs across the country and open 11 new fulfillment centers ahead of the upcoming festive season and its annual Big Billion Days sale event. These will be located across 9 cities and will add 1.3 million square feet to Flipkart's supply chain infrastructure, taking the total number of such facilities to 83. The company said this expansion will help meet the anticipated surge in demand during the festive period. Audit firm MSKA and Associates has resigned as Byju's statutory auditor, citing uncooperative management and suspicious transactions involving a Dubai-based reseller. This resignation affects the audit for financial year 23 accounts and follows Deloitte Haskins & Sells' exit in 2022. The firm reported difficulties in obtaining necessary information and raised concerns over Byju's financial stability. In the resignation letter, the auditor also cited a suspicious transaction related to Dubai-based reseller More Ideas General Trading LLC that had been reported to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs on September 2nd. This involves recovery of about Rs 1,400 crore from the reseller. Quick commerce firm Zepto, which raised nearly $1 billion from private investors over the past 2 months, has begun active discussions with top Wall Street bankers including Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs for an initial public offering. The Mumbai-based startup is also learned to be talking to domestic investment banks for the potential listing of shares by August next year. However, the IPO plan will be contingent on its flip back to India. Zepto is in the process of shifting its domicile from Singapore to India, joining a large group of Indian startups which have flipped back recently. Eyeing benefits from digital banking, banks are now looking at building Unified Recovery Interface or UPI for enhancing efficiency, reducing costs, and getting good prices for properties of defaulters. This would be managed by PSB Alliance Limited, a company set up by all public sector banks in the country. This will give comfort to bankers that when they lend this, the process will run for the recovery also, so there may not be many challenges in collection management. This will bring down the collection costs. It could be the coming of age for India in the global semiconductor field. With new projects being announced, under discussion, and even cleared this week, India, according to industry estimates, could see an investment of around $30 billion in this space in the next 2 to 4 years. Of this, 60% has been cleared by the Union Cabinet. Reliance Retail, the country's largest organized retailer, has not given up on its quick commerce ambitions despite facing initial hiccups in the segment. The retailer, which has a network of nearly 19,000 stores in the country, has begun trial or pilot runs of 30-minute delivery services under JioMart in key cities within states such as Maharashtra and Karnataka. This is part of a larger game plan to re-enter the quick commerce or hyper-local delivery services market. This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.